today's practice, we're actually going to be focusing a lot on opening up our hips. It's likely stuck, cooped up in the house, not moving around a lot, so we'll try and find a little bit of grace and comfort and opening through our low backs today. So ideally, I'd like to get us all the way through our practice and then wrap up right before it cuts off at our 60-minute marker so that we can all get into Shavasana comfortably and then we don't have to worry about jumping up and resetting our connections. So that being said, let's all begin in Child's Pose. So as you lower yourself down onto your shins, your forearms, and your forehead, make sure you can really find yourself settled into a comfortable position for your body. The distance between your knees will have an effect on the comfort of your low back and of course the knees themselves. So if you need a little more space, widening them out will allow a release of some of that pressure through your knee joints. And we really want to be sure that your elbows and your forehead are actually on the floor so you can soften your shoulders, your neck, and then make sure to unclench your teeth. Relax the roof of your mouth, soften the backs of your eyes, open your ears, and starting to check in first with your breath. You're feeling the depth and dimension of every inhale and every exhale. You're observing where the breath begins within your body and the path that it travels. And then from that awareness of the breath initially, start to become a bit more globally aware, spreading the awareness through your limbs, out toward your fingers and your toes. Still maintaining that connection to the movement of the breath, but just opening out a little bit broader. And now, checking in with the state of your mind, moving awareness up into the head, into the heart, being mindful of your emotional state as well as your physical state. Now that we've got this mental picture of where we are to begin, just tuck that away somewhere in the background of your mind. Stay until the absolute end of your exhalation. And then with an inhale, begin shifting forward into a tabletop position, stacking your shoulders atop your wrists, and then cinching the knees into hip width alignment if they were wider. You're letting the belly drop toward the earth. Draw the shoulder bones back, lengthen through the crown with an inhale. Exhaling, tuck your tailbone under, rounding your spine, keep the hips lifted in cat, gaze toward your navel. Inhale, belly drops, shoulders roll back, lift your crown and your tailbone. Exhale, when you curl in, really try to find strength. We're scooping out with the belly, the solar plexus, and the chest. One more. Okay, sides of the neck soft, jaw relaxed, lifting through your crown, and then exhale, tuck and round all the way in. So we'll add on to this flow now. Inhale, return to cat. Belly drops, crown lifts, but exhale, push back into child. Shifting your hips toward your heels. If that's too much on your knees, keep the hips lifted slightly in puppy. Now curling your spine, look toward your belly button, begin to lift with an inhale. Keep that rounded back until the top, and then drop your belly. Open your heart, look to the heavens. Tuck your toes for downward dog, stretching through the backs of the legs, reach your heels toward the earth. Drop your knees. Cat's position, open the heart, belly drops, fill. Child's pose, push back, hips to heels, soften your neck. Keep the spine rounded, lifting with an inhale, shift your shoulders atop your wrists, and then open into your back bend. Exhale, tuck your toes, downward dog, stretch from your sitting bones to your heels. One more time. Knees drop to the earth, inhale, open your heart, shoulder bones back. Exhale, child, push the hips away, look toward your navel. Keep your back rounded as you rise, inhaling, shoulders atop wrists, and then drop the belly, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Tuck your toes and lengthen away. And give yourself an additional breath here, gently lifting the fronts of your legs, your knees and thighs, but stretching down through the backs of your legs, your hamstrings and your heels. At the end of an out breath, look forward. Walk your way up to the top of the mat, big toes touch once you get there. Taking your hands to shins or leave them on the floor lengthened, and then folding down head to knees. Two more times. Inhale, halfway up, guide the shoulders down your back. Exhale, long spine melts. Last time, really savor the inhale. Keep your toes soft when you melt. Exhale. Bend your knees, let your spine dangle. Head is heavy. Round up one vertebra at a time, bone by bone. And once you arrive at tall, pressing the tops of the thigh bones back, anchor your tailbone, arms by your sides in equal standing posture. Okay, for our next sequence of postures, we're going to link them into our traditional sun salutation flow. Letting the weight shift to the fronts of the heels if it's not already. Softly gaze out over the horizon as the shoulder blades draw back and down. Sink back up with your breath. And on an inhalation, begin lifting your arms overhead. Draw your eyes up toward your thumbs. As you hinge at your waist, fold all the way down, reaching your hands for blocks, earth, and remember you can bend your knees. Lengthen as you fill with an inhale. We're going to step the right leg back to kneel. And if you're on carpeting, this may be comfortable enough, but if you're on hardwood floor like we are, good idea to have a blanket for this flow to give you some extra cushion. Good. Softening the hips down and forward as you stay lifted on the fingertips alone. Relax your jaw. Soften your eyes as they smile out into the distance, taking a deep breath through the front of your right hip. Stepping the left foot back, we're going to lower knees, chest, and chin, modifying our first flow. So keep the toes tucked, knees on the mat, elbows close as the chest lowers. Cobra posture, hips down. Use the strength of the back to lift you with your inhale. Downward facing dog, push back, lifting the hips high. Give yourself a full breath, grounding through the inner margins of the hands as the shoulders grow broad across the back. And then right side, inhale, lift the right leg into the sky. Exhale, step up to your kneeling lunge, settling your knee down onto your cushion. Point the left foot away, lifting onto the fingertips. Feel yourself energetically reaching back through the inseam of your left leg. Inner thigh to big toe, all the way out to that back wall. Last exhale, tucking the toes of your left foot, spring forward on the inhale to lengthen your spine out, and then melting down, head heavy. Ride the inhale up into the sky, lifting your arms high. Equal standing, eyes over the horizon, soft gaze. Keep it flowing. Inhale, lift. Hinge all the way down, head to legs. Lengthen your spine as you fill. Step your left leg back to a kneeling position. Dropping the knee down to the mat, stage 1. Stage 2, grounding into your left palm, bend your left knee and reach back with the opposite hand to grab the top of your foot. Okay, if you have difficulty catching the foot in this instance, a way to modify is to set a strap beneath your ankle and roll back to find your strap before pulling yourself into that partial bind. And you can always stick with the initial modification that we've done so far, simply kneeling. One more exhale, hips down and forward. Inhale, drop the foot, step back to plank position, and then lower with control, knees, chest, chin. Cobra posture, hips on the mat, inhale. Push back to downward facing dog. Your feet approximately hip width, reaching back through your inner heels. As we inhale next, lifting the left leg into the sky. Step up, drop the back leg. So lifting the fingertips is stage 1, remain. Stage 2, ground the right palm. Reach back with your left hand, grab that back foot as you start to draw the heel in toward the hip. Breathing through the whole extent of your right thigh. Listen to your breath, keeping it continuously smooth and even. One last exhale. You're releasing the back foot, tuck the toes, spring forward with your inhale to lengthen your spine, melting down. Good, rise on up, lifting into the sky, equal standing, arms by your sides. So taking it to the next level. Inhale, rise, forward fold, head to knees. Lengthen halfway up. Step the right leg back to kneel, point the toes away. Stage 1 on the fingertips. Stage 2, take your hands to your left thigh and begin lifting your torso up. Once you initiate the fundamental lift of your spine, patiently cultivate a little more lift through your lower belly, trying to move the front of your hips away from your leg bone. Jaw is soft, eyes on the horizon. We'll take one more inhale here as we lift up just a little higher through our crowns, and then hands down. Stepping the left foot back to meet the right, you can lower knees, chest, chin, or now straight as a board. Cobra or upward dog if you prefer, in which case your knees will no longer be on the floor. Downward dog. And giving yourself a recovery breath, soften the face as the back of the heart melts toward the thighs. On an inhalation, lifting your right leg up into the sky. Exhale, step between your hands, drop your left knee. Pointing the toes away, stay on the fingertips, or if you're balanced, hands to the right knee as you lift your torso. So with the spine lifting, the crown rising toward the heavens, we still feel that the hips are melting directly down toward the front edge of the mat. One more inhale, lift the heart a little higher, hands down. Tuck the back toes, inhale, spring forward, long spine, melting your way in, lift your hips. All the way up we go, sweeping into the sky, look up toward your thumbs, equal standing arms by your sides. Left now. Folding in, breathing down the backs of the legs. Halfway, inhale, left leg back to the knee. Stage 1, fingertips on the earth. Stage 2, bringing your hands to your right thigh, lift up. Stage 3, adding on the bind, the right elbow or forearm rests upon the thigh as the left arm reaches back to catch the hind leg. Support here. Good. All right, be thoughtful of your back knee. You can very easily find yourself pushing into the top of your patella. So it can be helpful to shift the knee out of the way slightly, drawing it toward the back of your mat a bit more. Same fundamental principles here, hips down and forward, spine up. Breathing as calmly as you can through that quadricep. If your balance is a little unsteady, remember your right foot. Feel those bones spreading and grounding. One more exhale. This time we're going to add on half monkey. You lower the left foot, tuck the toes as you bring your hands to the floor. Keep your left knee down. Inhale, pull your hips back as the right leg straightens, and then melting toward the right knee, breathe down those hamstring muscles. Remember to keep your face relaxed. If you're holding tension in your face, your jaw, your eyes, your ears, I guarantee you you're holding tension elsewhere. With an inhalation, rocking through your lunge, step your right foot back to meet your left. With your exhale, straight as a board or knees, chest, chin. Cobra or upward dog, save that breath, lift your crown. Downward facing. And we'll take that recovery breath. And then lifting the left leg into the sky with an inhale. Step up between your hands, dropping the right knee to the mat. Find the modification that feels right. Fingertips on earth or hands to knee. Moving into the final variation, left forearm grounds into the thighs, right hand reaches back, catching for the foot. Keep your eyes steady, looking over the horizon to help with your balance. And of course, be mindful of your left foot, softening the webbing between the toes as it stands into the earth beneath you. Good hip bone to hip bone, find a little movement of the lower belly toward the heart. We're going to take one more inhale here. As you exhale, releasing the foot, place your hands on the mat, tuck the toes of the back leg. Inhale, hips back as left leg straightens, melting into half splits. Breathe down your hamstrings, calves, toes. Savor the exhale. Inhale, rock forward, step up to a long spine. Up to a long spine. Wait, up, come on. Up. Forward fold, down you go. Toes soft. Lift yourself up nice and high with the inhale. Arms by your side. So one more variation of the flow. This time we're going to bring in lizard posture. As you're ready. Inhale, lifting. Hinge all the way down, forward fold. Lengthen your spine, draw the heart forward. Right leg steps back. When the knee drops to the mat and the toes point away, wiggle your left foot outside of your shoulder line. So if you don't have any yoga blocks at home, of course you can utilize a stack of books, whatever is available to you nearby. Start to bend the elbows if there's space. Maybe lower your forearms to blocks or eventually all the way down to the mat. Now still feel yourself conscious and standing through the left foot. Even the inner margin of that foot planting into the mat as the inner thigh turns toward the earth. Last exhalation here. Build back up to straighten arms. Wiggle the left foot back inside the shoulder line. And then half splits. Inhale, left leg straightening, melting over the center of the thigh. So you should literally be trying to breathe down your left leg, feeling the inhalations, expanding the hamstrings and inner thighs, the calf muscles, all the way out to the Achilles tendon. One more exhale, melt and change. Inhale, rocking into a lunge, step back to plank position, moving through your flow, modified or otherwise. And take a full breath, soften the jaw. Right leg. Lifting with an inhale, step up between the hands, drop your back knee. Wiggle the right foot outside of the shoulder line as you lengthen your spine, and then lowering down onto your blocks or forearms to earth. Okay, within lizard posture, you're likely to feel majority of the opening on your right hip or the low back on the right side. But irrespective of where the predominant sensations are, that's where you need to spend your time. If you're feeling a lot of stretch on the front of the left hip, then be attentive to that. Breathe into it. Two more exhalations. And with an inhale, begin to draw yourself back up. Walking the right foot inside the shoulder line, tuck your left toes. Inhale, hips pull back as the right leg straightens. Melt into those hamstring muscles. Okay, these are pretty big muscles running from the back of the hip all the way down into the back of the knee, and they do not like sitting in chairs, driving in cars. The vast majority of the things we do posturally. So nurture those muscles, softening with every exhale. Last out breath. And then up we go. Inhale, step to the top, lengthen your spine, folding in head to knees. Rise on up, reach your arms into the sky. Exhaling, arms by your sides. Last time, left side, adding on that bind. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Halfway up, draw your heart forward. Left leg back to kneel. Wiggle the right foot outside. Stage one, lowering into your lizard posture to the forearms you go. Stage two, turning your left forearm in at about a 45-degree angle, reach your right hand back and bind the left foot. Once you caught a hold, hips down and forward, roll your right shoulder open, pointing your heart toward your right knee. Let go of any tension around your face. Last exhale. Release the back foot, tuck the toes, right foot inside the shoulder line as you lengthen up, half splits. Inhale, hips away. Last time we'll be revisiting this posture in our practice today. Rocking forward, step the right foot back to meet the left. Inhale. Lowering with control, knees, chest, chin, or straight as a board. Savor the in-breath in your back bend, over your 10 toes. And lifting the left leg up with an inhale. Step between your hands, drop your back knee. A setting lizard, wiggle that left leg outside the shoulder line. When you're ready, lower down to your blocks or your forearms. Shifting into our bound position, right forearm turns in, left hand reaches back, binding the back foot, and slowly drawing heel toward hip, heart toward knee. And listen to the quality sound of your breath, and if it's too quiet for you to hear, then pay a little more attention. Last exhale, releasing the bound foot, walking that left leg inside the shoulder line as we set up our final half splits on the left. Inhale, pull away, pull the left sitting bone back toward the wall behind you. We're going to give a little more of a turn this way. And then navel and nose toward the left side. Now, although you're turning to the left to steer yourself over that limb, try to push forward through the inner edge of that left foot. Imagining you could turn the inner thigh toward the floor. You savor your final exhale. With your inhale, rock forward, lengthen your spine at the top of the mat. Bow down, head to knees. Rising up, reach the arms into the heavens. Exhaling, arms by your sides. Okay, take a breath in stillness, check in. All right, open your feet to hip width position. Take your hands back to your sacrum. So the heels of your hands are beneath your waistband. We really want to feel that we're supporting the sacrum, that inverted triangle at the base of your spine. Now pushing your leg bones back with strength, engage the thighs. Inhale, draw your sternum and your eyes up toward the ceiling, finding a little back bend to start. Okay, focus primarily on your leg bones pushing away and the lift out of the front of your hips as your low back breathes. For 3, eyes softly focused on the ceiling. For 2, as you inhale, lift yourself back up to center, hands on your hips. Exhale, bend your knees, round your spine forward. Once you're upside down, let your arms drop and dangle. Can you shake the head out yes and no? Make sure your neck is relaxed. And then, of course, bending your knees however much you need to comfortably reach for the feet. And if the feet are just absurdly too far away, by all means, grab your ankles. So if you're grabbing hold of the feet, tucking palms beneath, lengthen your spine with an inhale. Exhale, draw the elbows out sideways, soften as the head falls, looking past your nose toward your navel. Breathe down the backs of your legs. Spreading the inhalations out through the hamstrings as you feel the backs of your knees broadening. Let the weight drift just slightly forward into the forefeet for 2 more exhales. And then untucking one at a time. Inhale, lift to the fingertips as you lengthen halfway up. Exhale, stay here, place your hands on your waist. Inhale, rise all the way up to tall. Good, arms sweeping out at shoulder height. Take a deep breath in, lift your heart. Take them behind you and release your fingers. Inhale, open the chest, and then folding forward, bend your knees as you go, taking the pressure out of the low back. Now, once you're upside down, we'll start lifting the arm bones into the sky. Breathing as thoughtfully now into your hamstrings as into your shoulders. Find full expansion from sitting bones to elbows. And certainly with the arm stretch here, good idea to check in with your neck. A little shake, yes, a little shake, no. Softening your cervical spine. 3 more exhales. Maybe lifting your hips a little higher. Maybe moving those arm bones a little further away. Releasing your hands back to your waist. Bend the knees if they're not already. Round your spine up, hollowing your lower belly as you go. Once you arrive, circle your hands back to the sacrum. Firm the legs, pushing the thigh bones back. Inhale, hip bone to hip bone. Lift the lower belly to your heart to the heavens, eyes to the sky. Exhaling, finding your intelligent edge as you roll back for 3. Breathing deeply into the heart for 2. Remember to stay until the end of your exhalation, that's 3, and then inhale lifts you up to center. Arms by your sides, feet together. And we'll take it through a vinyasa. Push the feet down to lift on your inhale. Hinge forward, head to knees. Lengthen your spine out. Step or hop your way back and lower down with control. Knees, chest, chin, or straight as a board. Cobra or upward dog. Roll over those toes, downward facing dog. 2 breaths here. Lifting the hips as they pull away. Melting the heart as you soften your face. Drawing the right leg up into the sky. Step up between your hands for warrior 1, dropping your back heel at about a 60-degree angle. Lift the arms straight up overhead on your inhale. And then exhale, left elbow beneath right into eagle gesture. And once you tie up the forearms, draw your shoulder blades down your back, either keeping the eyes straight out over the horizon, or you can begin lifting the back of your heart up into the space between your arm bones, cultivating a little bit of a back bend. But don't just drop your head back. We want to feel that that elevation originates from the center of the chest. Transitioning to eagle posture for a little challenge or balance. We'll pause for a few breaths in a partial warrior 3. So if you're back bending, bring your eyes back to neutral. You begin shifting slightly forward with an exhale, and then stepping off into the right leg, hover in space. Okay, reach back strongly through the tips of your left toes as your crown radiates forward, hinging halfway. And then slow as can be, inhale, rise back up. Bend your left knee as it lifts to hip height. Eagle posture, cross the left thigh over the right. You find your balance, eyes on the horizon, and breathe. Relax the jaw once more. And then check in, of course, with the sides of your neck, from your shoulders to your ears. Let them melt away as the scapula descend. Last exhale. And then change. Feet together, arms up. Hinge all the way down, head to knees. Lengthen your spine fully to downward facing dog. Remember, you can go through your full flow, or you can just simply step back. Setting up for our left side already. Grounding the back heel. Once you're equally planted into your foundation, inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, right elbow beneath left to twist up the arms. Eagle gesture, don't worry. Soften your shoulders down as your crown lifts. And then try to find that your hips are steering to the left. So you're pushing through the outer edge of your right foot as the right hip rolls forward. The left sitting bone is drawn back, right from the core of the hip. Full breath through the low back. Now remember, we're not going to stay terribly long in Warrior 3, but we are trying to find a fairly graceful transition. So as we start to shift the weight into the left foot, hinging partially forward, use an inhale to step off into space. Now pointing the right foot, really twist the inner thigh of that right leg toward the ceiling so your hips square. Eyes steady. With an inhalation, begin rising up to tall, bending your right knee, lift it up to hip height. Exhaling, cross your thighs, sit into eagle like you've always been here. Calm breathing, smiling at yourself, not just with the corners of your mouth, but also through your eyes. And release, feet together, arms up, inhale. Let's wipe our slate clean, head to knees. You stretch the spine open and long, make your way to downward dog directly or through your full flow. Cobra or upward dog, draw the heart away from your toes. Downward facing dog, and we will transition to our backs. So bend your knees, look up between your hands, step or lightly hop to sit, and then roll down onto your spine, bring both of your legs in toward your chest and give yourself a hug. So try to keep your knees fairly close together and fairly near your heart as you squeeze them in, softening your outer hips. Now from here, we'll switch over to one leg. So extend the left leg upon the floor, interlace the fingers just beneath your right knee by about an inch or two, and then pressing your elbows down toward the earth to not only stretch the back of the hip, but also to create some compression for the abdominal wall. But of course, that isn't worth anything unless you're breathing. So full inhalations through the hips, the bellies, the ribs. The bellies, hopefully we only have one. 2 more breaths. Okay, left leg a little straighter, inner thigh integrating into the floor. Last exhale. And then as you back off, take your foot, step it outside of your left knee on the floor. Left hand catches the bent knee. Right arm reaches out at shoulder height. Exhale, twist. As you gaze out over your right shoulder, try to slide both of your shoulder blades under the back and down toward your waist, as this will help to release your neck a little more. Okay, jaw soft. Breathing from your right hip up your back. Try to fill the whole length of your spine with every inhale. So we're going to shift back to our starting position. Grounding your right hip back onto the mat, return the head to center. Your right foot should be on the floor outside of your left leg. Now just bend your left knee up toward your shoulder. Thread the needle. So right arm is going to reach between the legs, interlacing your fingers around your left hamstrings or your left shin. Now thoughtfully flex your feet, because this is going to keep our knees safe, but it will also help you to stretch a little deeper as you need. Jaw soft, both shoulders sinking into the floor. Really fill out your hip. Deep expansion. One more exhale, and then we're going to rock up to seated. So if you're holding on to your left shin, switch to your hamstrings. Okay, from your hamstrings, we're going to inhale, kick the left leg, rock back to the shoulders. Exhale, rock up to sit. Not quite. Left leg straight, right leg over your head. So still in our half lotus type position, with the ankle kind of close to the top of the hip, you should check in with how comfortable your right knee is. Okay, if there's any kind of pressure on the right knee, then I would rather you take the foot off the leg and drop it down onto the floor in more of our traditional head to knee pose. Okay, if the knee is comfortable with the ankle resting on top of the thigh in half lotus, then you would just simply hold that foot with your left hand and reach forward with your right for your foot or your strap. Folding equally, we want to try to keep the torso as parallel to the earth as possible as we bow. Breathing into your left leg. Final exhalation. When you sit up on your inhale, straighten the right leg out before you. Exhale, cross your shins, roll over your feet, either vinyasa or just step straight back to downward dog. setting up our other side. Take the weight into the palms, bend your knees, step or lightly hop to sit with an inhale. Exhale, roll down onto your spine, hug in close. Good. Knees close together toward your heart. Outer hips soften as you press your spine into the floor. Left leg extending. Good, right leg. So with the right leg long upon the floor, interlace your fingers around your left shin, just beneath the knee, and start to press in. So pulling or pressing, if you will, the thigh in toward the ribs, you'll start to hopefully find some of that stretch on the back of your left hip. If you're not, try to tuck and lengthen the back of your left hip toward the front of your mat, scooping the hip away from your crown. And when you found a little bit more of that, press the thigh into the ribs, or if you're really open here, you can start to press the thigh down outside of the rib cage for just about 2 more breaths. Last exhale, and then step the left foot outside of the right knee. Right hand catches a hold of the knee as the left arm opens, moving into your twist. Start to push that thigh down onto the opposite side. So we want to let the whole left hip lift off the floor, so the back of your hips will eventually be vertical, stacking left completely atop right, and then breathing from the back of that hip upwards. If you feel like your belly is doing a lot of the moving here, then bring a little bit of strength and control into the tummy to press the breath back into your spine. Now don't just feel your low back breathing, but try to get the whole of your rib cage expanding and contracting. So for our last exhale, remember we're going to return to where we started. So we're going to keep the left foot outside of the right leg as we roll our hips back to center. Bend the right knee up toward your shoulder, reaching the left arm between for thread the needle. So the right thigh and the left ankle are right in line with one another. And in fact, the further toward the knee that ankle is, the deeper the stretch will be. Okay, you can lessen or taper some of that intensity by bringing the heel in a little bit closer to your hip socket. Both shoulders moving to hips and earth, both hips moving toward the floor as your left hip expands and contracts. Try to sink your hips as you pull the knee in closer. 2 more exhales. So if you're holding onto your right shin, switch back over to your right hamstrings instead. With an inhale, kick the right leg, rock to your shoulders. With an exhale, rock up to sit. Hey, we can of course drop the foot to the floor if the left knee is sensitive. Otherwise, try to pull the heel up into your waistband, close to the hip socket. Okay, holding with the right hand on the foot if you're in half lotus, left arm reaches. Find your strap or your foot. Take a breath into a long spine and then melting your way down. Keep your collarbones parallel to the floor so you're evenly stretching. Now with our half lotus variation of this posture, when we fold in, we should more try to align the center of our torso, that would be your navel and your nose, over the inseam of the leg, the inner thigh, the inner calf muscle. And this pose will tend to elicit a deeper stretch on the outer hip. But of course, this is relative to your practice. Last exhale here. Straightening up, kick the left leg out before you. Cross your shins, roll over your feet, step back into your flow or downward dog directly. Now we're going to be transitioning into one-legged king of pigeons. Of course, if you have any history of knee injury or sensitivity here, I would advise you to have some books or some pillows to place underneath your hip for some added cushioning. But if this posture in general is not available to you, the posture we just did on our backs, thread the needle pose, holding onto the thigh, will be a good modification for you. So lifting the left leg up into the sky with an inhale, let's bend the left knee, roll the hip open, and then with an exhale, sweeping up for pigeon, land behind your left wrist. Now if you are going to be using a prop, we'd be placing that block underneath the hip as we softly settle down, lowering the back leg fully to the floor. Okay, the block can be shifted, lifting hip up, closer and closer to the back of the knee, which will create more space within the knee joint. Of course, if you don't need the block at all, you just get that out of the way, keeping your left foot fairly pointed in the beginning of this pose. Get tall, and with your exhale, begin hinging forward if there's space available to you, lowering down onto your elbows, stacked fists, or palms, whatever makes a comfortable pillow for you. Now, if at any time you start to feel a electric or sharp sensation in your knee joint, I'll ask that you come out of the pose, flip onto your back, and practice thread the needle instead. So left hip breathing as the back of your heart sinks toward the earth. Now it's important that we remember to keep our heads heavy. And we don't want to use the muscles of the neck to draw us in and out of postures. So when we're done here in pigeon, slide the hands up beneath the shoulders, ground through the palms, let the head hang as you round your spine up, and then roll into your left hip, bring the right leg up and around, standing outside the knee. If you're having difficulty maintaining a nice tall spine or sitting your right hip onto the floor, then you can always straighten your left leg out in front of you, just to demonstrate it, okay, which will widen your foundation a bit. Otherwise, keeping the left knee bent at your side, not to sit on the heel, make sure that that foot is just slightly outside. Right hand back behind you in line with your spine, get tall, and with your exhale, you can choose to hug the knee initially. You can wedge the elbow down outside of the leg eventually, but when we shift into this almost stop sign position, be thoughtful that your shoulder blade grounds down the back, which is actually going to help to twist you from that left side of your body. So looking over your shoulder, gaze out over the horizon, breathing deeply through your crown back, eyes on the horizon. Okay, twists in general should be really satisfying. Feeling the breath moving on the back, on the sides of the ribs, feeling that whole body expansion and contraction. So emphasize breathing even more for the last few cycles. Final exhalation, and then with an inhale, return. Straighten both your legs out before you. Cross your shins, roll over your feet, vinyasa. Reaching through the heels if you're lowering. Cobra or upward dog, open your heart. Over those toes, downward facing dog. A recovery breath. And then right side. Lifting the leg high, bend the knee, roll your hips open. Exhale, sweeping forward, land on the outside of the shin as your left leg slides away. Walk the hands in first, making any adjustments you need to accommodate your hip. Get tall. And then with an exhale, begin folding forward, coming down onto your forearms or whatever cushioning you devise for your head. Now, although you are folding forward, your aim is not to get your head to the floor. As with any hip opener or any forward fold that we practice, we want to try to keep the spine relatively neutral. So as the heart sinks, the spine lengthens. And then the hips, hopefully if they're being agreeable, change and shift with every breath. So remember that we're not lifting with our head. The head hangs, the neck is soft, The hands drop beneath shoulders, and as the arms push straight, the spine rounds its way up. Fall into your right hip, bring the back leg up and around, stand the foot outside of your right knee. Remember your modification, right leg can extend straight if this helps you to sit upright or to use less of the left hand as a prop or a kickstand to keep you tall. So when you're ready, on the exhalation, revolving with your belly, then allowing the torso to carry on into the twist, your rib cage to follow. And within any seated twist, your eyes should alight on the horizon, neither up nor down. And this way, it's easier for us to stay tall. Whole body breath. Two more exhalations. And then vinyasa. Coming back to center, straighten both your legs first. Exhale, cross your shins, plant your palms, step or hop your way back, lowering with the elbows close. When you move into upward dog, as you push your arms straight, cinch the shoulder blades against the spine behind you, roll over your toes, downward dog. Full breath, in and out. Gazing up between your hands, come to sit. Step or lightly hop, land on the hips. Send your legs straight out before you first, pushing the spine up top. Bend your knees in toward your heart, drop them open to the sides for bound angle. If your knees are higher than your belly button, good idea to sit on a pillow, blanket, or blocks until your knees are at least navel height, as this will be a little kinder and gentler on the knees as we move into our forward fold. Pull back on your feet, lift your heart high, inhale. Exhale as straight a spine as possible, hinging straight down. Now the elbows will cinch in close to the ribs, much like we do in our lowered push-up. Similarly, shoulder blades converging against the spine as you reach your heart beyond your toes. Heels pressing heels as the inner thighs expand. One more exhalation, and at the end of that breath, you can let yourself completely round forward, collapsing. Inhale, round it up, one bone at a time. Close your knees up like a book, using the hands together as one. Lift your feet off of the floor just by a millimeter, reach around, give yourself a hug, soften your hips. Last vinyasa. Crossing your shins, roll over your feet, step or bounce your way back. Press through the heels, reach elbows back lower. Inhale, savor that breath, fill the tops of your lungs fully. Downward facing dog. And from that downward facing dog, go ahead and step or hop your way to seated. I'll turn around to face the camera. So we'll take a moment here before our final Shavasana to acknowledge ourselves and our practice, our efforts, but also to acknowledge everyone out there that joined us today and will join us later. So once you've settled into a comfortable seat, let your eyes softly shut. Bring the palms of your hands together at the center of your chest. Reconnect with your breath. And then take this moment first to thank yourself. Feeling gratitude for doing something great for yourself this morning. For returning to your mat and your practice time and time again. And then, of course, to reach that gratitude outwards to all those out there right now who need some support, but also to everyone out there connected to our lives that support us on a daily basis. As always, I'm honored that you would share your practices with me. Namaste.
Namaste.
So we'll be settling down into our final Shavasana. Go ahead and turn over onto your backs, laying such that your feet will be wider than your hips. Palms of the hands into an upward facing position with your hands about 6 inches away from your hips. Now, any fidgeting, any wiggling you need to do to get out of the way, do so now. Really make sure that your low back feels relatively comfortable, lengthening the tailbone away. But if you are experiencing any low back discomfort, you can always bend your knees, keeping the feet flat on the floor as the knees fall together at center. As far as the shoulders are concerned, we want to make sure that the shoulder blades walk down away from the ears, so you can stretch your arm bones toward your feet just a little bit more. You let your chin just slightly tuck toward the chest, the back of the neck lengthens, and then unclench your teeth. Let the roof of your mouth soften. Feel the periphery of your body growing more and more relaxed. Softening the webbing between your fingers and the webbing between your toes. Feel the backs of your knees and your shoulder blades simultaneously falling into the earth, succumbing to the weight of gravity. Picture your spinal cord. Imagine that instead of bone, the whole of your spinal column has become a silken rope. And with gravity, it too falls and sinks. Relinquish any control of your breath, trusting that your body will breathe as it needs. And then be sure to relax the tongue and the mouth. Open the sinuses. Relax the eyes. And open your ears. And leaving everything else behind, let your breath and your breath alone be your guide. Comfortably sink and settle into a calmer and more natural rhythm, staying as long as you can, and longer than you'd like. Breath after breath, reconnect. Breath after breath, return.